if you're watching this video, you probably want to learn how to become a faster driver, and today I'm going to tell you the steps that I took to improve my driving skills over the last year. If you're anything like me, you've been doing track days for some time, and maybe you feel like after improving for a while, you've sort of plateaued and aren't really getting any faster. This is exactly what happened to me. I got better and better up to a point, and then I just kind of stopped. And in order to continue improving, I needed to do something different. So at the beginning of 2021, I set the goal for myself to become a better, quicker driver. Kind of a New Year's resolution for driving. And being an engineer, I broke this goal down into some concrete steps. So let me tell you which skills I felt were lacking and how I was going to build them. And then I'll share the results. Okay, so the first thing that I identified preventing me from going faster was my body. No, I'm not out of shape or anything like that, but my body wasn't calibrated properly for the G-forces of driving fast at the track. I saw in some of my data that I was maxing out at the track around 1 to 1.1 Gs in cornering, but my Lotus can corner harder than that. You know how some people talk about using their butt dyno to tell if a car has more or less horsepower? Well, this is kind of the same thing, but for cornering. And my cornering butt dyno was preventing me from cornering harder than what the car is capable of. My body would sort of max out around 1G, and my brain wouldn't let me push any further. So how do you acclimate your body to higher G-forces? Well, this is kind of funny, but I started doing a couple things that aren't related to driving at all. First, I began aggressively playing and jumping on my kid's trampoline, trying to get that feeling of falling in my stomach and just subjecting my body to different G-forces. I also visited an amusement park to ride roller coasters, though I probably should have done this more often because I do think it really helped. And finally, I drove go-karts, and I also rode along with much faster drivers at track days. The next thing that I felt like I needed to work on was my reflexes. I noticed in video footage that my inputs to the steering were kind of slow and lazy. Now, there are a lot of ways that you can improve your reflexes, so let me know in the comments if you have ideas. But what I did was, first, I started playing more driving video games. In fact, I wanted to get a full-on driving simulator, but I just don't have the space for it. So if you have a sim, what do you think? Does it really help with your driving? Do they help your reflexes? I was just playing with a normal controller on my couch, and I think it did have an impact. The other thing which I didn't get around to doing was to start Formula One style driver reflex training. Now, they have some fancy setups and use tapping different lights, but I've also seen it done with tennis balls. I'm gonna add this to my 2022 goals to start practicing because I never got to it last year. The next thing that I set out to do was build my confidence for controlling a car at its limit. A big part of driving quickly at the track is about confidence in your own ability to drive and react to what the car is doing at the limit. You want to get to the point where you instinctively do things like apply counter steering when in a slide. There isn't time to think about this, so it really needs to be second nature. To practice this skill, you can again go do some go-karting. And it doesn't matter if the carts are good, it doesn't matter if they're electric or gas, as long as you're able to slide them around, that's all you need. Another really good option is autocrossing. It's generally lower speed than the track, but you still get the car sliding around in a relatively safe environment. The more you do this, the more it becomes automatic and your confidence will increase. I actually did a whole season of autocross last year, and if I can brag for just a minute, I placed second in my class. You can check out my other video, which I'll link to, about how autocross skills translate into track day skills. Then, the next two things to build confidence are ones that I'm planning to do this coming year. First is the Dirtfish Rally School, where you're sliding the car most of the time, and I'm also going to be doing a Lemons race with my friend Brock. Sound good so far? All of this is great, but none of it matters if mentally you aren't ready to drive more quickly. So the fourth thing to do is to understand the theories behind driving fast. For many people who've stopped improving, it's very much a mental roadblock preventing you from going more quickly. So two great resources that I'd recommend to help unblock your brain are, first, a book called Inner Speed Secrets by Ross Bentley, and second, a YouTube channel called Driver61, which is run by Scott Mansell, who is a professional driving coach. His videos are super informative and will help you get faster. I'll include a link below to the channel. Definitely some great tutorials on there. The last thing, and perhaps the most obvious thing that I did, was I'd recommend anyone to get a coach and just do more track days. In fact, one coach told me that if you aren't doing 15 to 20 track days a year, you're really not going to get better. You'll just sort of stay where you are. And I think there's some truth to that, because usually I'm lucky to be able to fit in 5 track days a year. And even if you've done driving schools before and you've had coaches before, you're likely at a different level now, so you don't need a coach to teach you about the racing line and other basics, but you need someone who can give you more advanced coaching and will help you break out of your rut and get faster. I got some great coaching last year that really helped me. I won't go into the details here, as everybody has their own areas that they need to work on, but for me, it really hinged on being more committed to every input that I made to the car: steering, gas, brakes. Do it with commitment. And if you can't get a coach, check out the Garmin Catalyst, which I did an in-depth review on in another video. This is a really excellent tool that reminds you in real time what to do for a better lap. It also gives you instant positive reinforcement when you do something well, so that right in that moment, you can mentally make the connection of how to do a particular corner, because you know how it feels to do it right. In my opinion, this is much better than going back to the paddock after a session, looking at the data, and trying to remember how a particular lap or a particular corner felt that was labeled in the data as your fastest. So that's it. That was my recipe that I implemented last year to try to improve my driving skills. Did it work? I mean, I don't have a ton of data, but my lap times around Laguna Seca have dropped by a couple of seconds, so I'm happy with that. But it's an ongoing and never-ending process of self-improvement, and that is both part of the fun and part of the challenge. And more importantly, I feel a lot more comfortable and confident pushing the car harder. Anyway, I hope this advice helps. Thanks for watching.